December 7th, 1941, a date that will forever echo in the annals of American history as the Day of Infamy. The United States of America was suddenly and deliberately attacked by naval and air forces of the Empire of Japan. In this video, we delve into the real reasons behind Japan's attack on Pearl Harbor, the aftermath, and the possibility of a similar event today. In the Pacific, two powers are locked in a tense standoff. On one side, the mighty United States of America, a beacon of democracy and a potent force for economic might. And on the other, the Empire of Japan, an ambitious nation determined to carve out its place in the world. The stage for the attack on Pearl Harbor was set not on the battlefield, but in the realm of economics. The United States, in a bid to halt Japan's aggressive expansion in Asia, imposed a series of crippling economic sanctions. The most impactful among them was the embargo on oil, a resource essential for a modern industrialized nation. Japan, a country with limited natural resources, relied heavily on imports to fuel its economy and its military. The embargo was a gut punch, a blow to Japan's aspirations of becoming a global powerhouse. The US saw this embargo as a success, a peaceful measure to check Japan's aggression. But in the corridors of power in Tokyo, this was seen as an act of aggression, a strategic failure by the US that pushed Japan into a corner. The embargo, instead of restraining Japan, forced it to make a choice between submission and survival, between yielding to the pressure or fighting back to safeguard its national interests. And so, Japan found itself at a dangerous crossroads, to yield or to go to war. This was not a choice made in haste, but a decision born out of desperation. An empire cornered, its survival at stake, Japan chose the path that would change the course of history forever. The wheels were set in motion, the plans were laid out, and the stage was set for one of the most infamous attacks in human history, Pearl Harbor. December 7th, 1941, a day that would forever etch itself into the annals of history. It was a serene Sunday morning, a typical day in paradise, yet it was about to become anything but ordinary. The tranquility was shattered as the first wave of Japanese planes swept over Oahu's skies, marking the beginning of a devastating surprise attack on Pearl Harbor. This assault was not a random act of aggression. It was a calculated move by the Empire of Japan, a desperate attempt to disrupt the Pacific Fleet and buy time for their expansion in Southeast Asia. The United States, having placed an oil embargo on Japan in response to its invasion of China, had unwittingly backed the Asian power into a corner. Without access to vital resources, Japan felt its survival was at stake, and so chose the path of war. The following day, President Franklin Delano Roosevelt addressed a shocked nation. His words, delivered with an air of solemn resolve, echoed across the country. Yesterday, December 7th, 1941, a date which will live in infamy, the United States of America was suddenly and deliberately attacked by naval and air forces of the Empire of Japan. The president's speech served as a rallying cry, a call to arms. It was a defining moment that united a previously divided nation, propelling the United States into World War II. This day of infamy, as Roosevelt so aptly named it, would forever change the course of history, not just for America, but for the entire world. Yet behind the strategic maneuvers and political rhetoric lay the harsh reality of war. Lives were lost, families torn apart, dreams shattered. The attack on Pearl Harbor was a stark reminder of the human cost of conflict, a lesson that resonates even today. Japan, cornered and desperate, saw war as the only path forward. This day of infamy serves as a poignant reminder of the devastating consequences when diplomacy fails and conflict takes its place. It underlines the importance of understanding, negotiation, and peace in our ever-evolving world. A figure of controversy in this narrative is Emperor Hirohito. His role, or perhaps the lack thereof, in the Pearl Harbor attack has been a point of debate among historians and scholars. To shed light on this, let's take a look at a document from the Japanese Ministry of the Interior. This document, dated November 1941, reveals that Hirohito was informed about the impending attack on Pearl Harbor. His reaction? Surprisingly calm. He didn't object, nor did he endorse the plan. His silence, some argue, is indicative of his tacit approval. But the question remains, was he an active player in this act of aggression or merely a figurehead with limited political power? Historian John W. Dower offers a critical perspective. In his words, this successful campaign to absolve Emperor Hirohito of any responsibility. Hirohito was not only presented as innocent of any formal charge that he might be liable to be tried for war crimes, he was relieved of all responsibility for the war. Dower's argument suggests that Hirohito, despite his calm demeanor and lack of formal charges, was not entirely innocent. This brings us to a broader question about accountability during times of war. Can one person, even an emperor, be held solely responsible for the decisions of a nation at war? Or is it a collective responsibility, shared by the government, the military, and even the society that supports them? Historical accounts of Hirohito's role in the Pearl Harbor attack vary widely. Some paint him as a passive figurehead, others as a war criminal. But regardless of where the truth lies, one thing is clear. Hirohito's role in the attack presents a complex picture of war accountability. Understanding Hirohito's role in Pearl Harbor is crucial as it highlights the complexities of war, the blurred lines of accountability, and the intricate dynamics of power. It's a reminder that history is rarely black and white, and that multiple perspectives are needed to truly grasp the full scope of events. In the aftermath of the attack, the world witnessed an unprecedented act of retaliation. The United States, deeply wounded by the surprise assault on Pearl Harbor, took a drastic step that would forever alter the face of warfare and the course of history. The decision was made to use the most destructive weapon mankind had ever created, the atomic bomb. On August 6, 1945, a B-29 bomber named Enola Gay soared over the Japanese city of Hiroshima. The payload it carried, a uranium bomb named Little Boy, was dropped and detonated, reducing the city to rubble in an instant. The devastation was unimaginable. Buildings disintegrated, fires raged, and tens of thousands of lives were instantly extinguished. Those who survived the initial explosion were left to face the horrors of radiation sickness. Yet, the United States was not done. 3 days later, on August 9th, another B-29 bomber, Bockscar, flew over Nagasaki. This time, the bomb was a plutonium device, codenamed Fat Man. The result was the same: utter devastation, an entire city leveled, and thousands more lives lost. The bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki were unlike anything the world had seen before. These were not conventional bombings, they were nuclear attacks, and their impact was cataclysmic. The images of their aftermath are seared into our collective memory, serving as grim reminders of the destructive potential of nuclear weapons. The death toll from these bombings is staggering. An estimated 140,000 people died in Hiroshima, and another 70,000 in Nagasaki. By the end of 1945, the total death toll was estimated to be as high as 200,000, and this does not include the countless others who later succumbed to radiation-related illnesses. This marked a somber chapter in history, with nearly 2 million lives lost. It was a painful lesson about the horrors of war and the devastating power of nuclear weapons, a lesson that remains relevant today as nations continue to grapple with the complexities of nuclear disarmament and the pursuit of peace. In today's world, the question arises, could a new Pearl Harbor happen today? With the evolution of warfare, the question isn't as far-fetched as it might seem. The landscape of conflict has changed dramatically since the mid-20th century. Direct military confrontations between global powers have become less frequent, largely due to the catastrophic potential of nuclear weaponry and the interconnectedness of our world. Yet this doesn't mean the threat has disappeared, it has merely transformed. Today we face the rise of a new kind of warfare, cyber warfare. Cyber attacks can cripple economies, disrupt essential services, and sow discord without a single shot being fired. They are the silent, invisible missiles of the 21st century, and they can strike anywhere, anytime. Similarly, the specter of international terrorism looms large. Non-state actors with ideologies that transcend national boundaries can orchestrate devastating attacks on civilian targets. These groups exploit the freedoms and technologies of open societies to inflict harm, often seeking to provoke overreactions that further their own ends. In this context, one could argue that the new Pearl Harbors are not singular events, but ongoing, diffuse threats that require constant vigilance. We live in an era where the front lines are not only on distant battlefields, but in our computer systems, our transportation networks, and our public spaces. So could a new Pearl Harbor happen today? In the conventional sense, it's unlikely due to the balance of global power and the checks and balances of international diplomacy. However, the concept of a surprise, devastating attack has not disappeared. It has merely evolved to match the complexities of our modern world. Today, Pearl Harbor serves as a stark reminder of the importance of diplomacy, understanding, and the pursuit of peace. It underscores the need for vigilance and preparedness, not just in terms of military might, but in the resilience of our societies and the robustness of our digital defenses. And most importantly, it reminds us of the human cost of conflict and the enduring value of peace. Thank you for joining us on this historical deep dive into Pearl Harbor. As we reflect on the past, it's essential that we also look to the future. Our world today may be different, but the lessons we've learned from history are timeless. We hope that this exploration has sparked your curiosity and deepened your understanding. If you've enjoyed this journey through history and want to keep learning more, please consider subscribing to our channel. We regularly delve into fascinating topics, uncovering the stories and events that have shaped our world. Do you know someone who might find this video interesting? Share it with them and engage in a conversation about the past, present, and future of global conflict. If you found this video informative, please hit the like button. Your support helps us continue to create content that enlightens and inspires. Remember, the only way to prevent history from repeating itself is to understand it. Stay tuned for more intriguing insights into history's most pivotal moments. Until next time, keep exploring.